were living on the beach, and Michael came in from work one day. He was still working on Little House, and said, "What do you think about me playing an angel?" And sort of ran the idea by me, and I said, "Great."
Kent and I were finishing a movie called Samson, kind of a biographical show of Michael. And he told us what he was thinking of doing.
The first I heard of Highway to Heaven is when Michael tells the story when he went to pitch Highway to Heaven to NBC. And in the good old days, Brandon Tartikoff was in charge of NBC, and he was in the room when Michael did the presentation. And Michael was a jokester, so he goes in there and he presents Highway to Heaven as serious as he could be, and everybody's laughing. They thought he was joking. And they said, "What's your real story about?" He goes, "No, that's it. I want to play an angel." And they kept laughing at him. And Brandon Tartikoff looks at him and says, "Michael, are you serious?" And Michael says, "Yes." And Brandon says, "It sounds like one of the worst things I've ever heard of, but I believe in Michael Landon. If you want to do it, you can do it."
It seemed to be a wonderful idea, contemporary, not a period piece, which we were used to doing with him.
After he talked to Tartikoff, he stopped and he said, "Well, we got a pickup to go ahead and do a pilot."
We did the pilot, and he came to our house and knocked on the door and said, "Well, it's a go." And we began shooting the series.
And it ended up being one of the highest rated episodes ever. When they did the pilot and they tested it, it came out in the test market as the highest production NBC had ever done before.
I think he really knew how to deal with people, and he always had the best people around him.
And people loved working with Mike. I mean, most of his crew people had been with him for 30 years. So, I mean, I think that speaks for itself.
And he was confident that if he had a problem in one end, that it would be taken care of.
He wouldn't put the stress on other people, but he relied on everybody. He relied on Kent McCrae. He relied on his filming crew. He knew that he had the best crew in the world. So Michael said, "I'll do my job and I'll let them do their jobs."
Kent McCrae, my husband, was his partner. He knew he could rely on him if he had problems.
Working with him, and as I handled the production, and when we did Highway, he just said, "You tell me where to be on what given day, and that's what I do." So I handled all the production and post-production.
They worked together, and the togetherness really showed in the work that they did together. It was a labor of love for everybody, and I think it showed.
When Michael was sick, when he got sick, one of the things he kept talking about was the fact that his crew was no longer going to have a job. I mean, that was, real important to him, to take care of his people.
I think he just wanted the best he could possibly get for everything that he did. Best locations, best people, best lighting, best sound, everything. And he had it.
And I worked on the show. I was on the set of Little House for 4 years. I loved going to work. It was family. Everybody had a great time.
He always loved working with actors. He would work with them if they wanted to change a line. There was very seldom a problem, as some shows have a hard and fast rule.
He had a special affinity to actors because of what he was, how he experienced interviews and going on. It was a very nerve-wracking situation for people. And so he always tried very hard to make it comfortable for them.
Michael had worked with Victor on Little House, and as you know, Victor had left to do his own show. And when the idea for Highway came up, there was only one person that came to mind, and that was Victor. And the chemistry was fantastic. They loved each other, respected each other, and had a great time.
Michael Landon and Victor French were crazy about each other. They laughed. They made fun of each other. One tried to outdo each other with jokes.
Better go to the bathroom first. Got a long drive.
Well, Mr. Smart Aleck, I don't have... Oh, that's puke, Jonathan. That's puke.
Victor was a great guy. You know, we had a lot of good times.
Between the two of them, they had such a great camaraderie that it showed on screen.
Jonathan, I hate when you do that. I hate when you put me in other people's dreams. I never get any rest. Besides, the way I am feeling, I am not going to be able to sleep all night long. I mean, it is a lost cause.
Mark?
What?
Good night. Good luck.
Michael was a very outspoken, out there kind of guy. Victor was a little bit more of a, reclusive, to himself type of man. But the chemistry worked there, and the dynamics was there. They made it work nicely.
Michael thought that Victor was probably one of the finest actors he had ever seen, both dramatically and in his comedy timing. He could make you laugh, and he could make you cry. And that was very important because Michael had that same ability. And with the two of them together, they would play off of each other so well. And I think that really helped all of the guest stars that we had, having that around them. It made them look even better than they already were.
He always worked with the crew. If the cameraman would say, oh, could we move over maybe a few inches because I can get a better, Mike said, no problem.
We were negotiating a contract on Highway to Heaven in this house. And Michael says to me, Dennis, you're more nervous than ever. And I go, my wife is in labor. And he goes, this meeting is over. And during the labor, I'm getting the best service in the world. You wouldn't believe it. And I realized Michael's in the waiting room the whole time. He followed me to the hospital, and he was waiting in the waiting room. And as soon as the baby was born, he already had a scholarship fund open for the child. And he did that for every one of my children. Every time I had a child, Michael would deliver me a scholarship fund for the child.
Mike, I can honestly say, was a very sensitive, very shy man who only wanted to get the best and make somebody feel comfortable and not intimidated.
The only time I've ever seen Michael close production, to be honest with you, is when one of the crew members' wives passed away. And Michael heard about it. And Michael said, well, where is he? And they go, he's at the funeral today. And Michael closed down productions. Kent McCrae rented a couple of buses. They drove to her funeral. It was only Michael's crew member with his wife and 100 people at the crew. That's what he did. That's the type of guy he was.
Everybody learns from everything that they do in the past, and I think that he had a lot of knowledge going into Highway about the business, about the different approaches of the business and the shows that he did.
I think a lot of people don't realize that Michael was not only an actor, but he was a writer, director, producer who had worked consistently for 30 years.
All the shows on Highway, he directed, I think, 97 out of 111 shows.
But just the fact that he accomplished so much in that period of time and had so many more things that he was, wanting to do, it's pretty amazing, actually.
Michael, in my estimation, was a genius. He knew he could read a script and tell you how it was going to be edited. He had the instinct to know what played and what didn't play.
Michael was a terrific director. And so when he wanted to cast a part, he really knew what he was looking for. He was an actor's director.
Michael always wanted to write. He said that when we were doing Bonanza. That goes back that far. And we had a gentleman who was our associate producer and rewrite gentleman by the name of John Hawkins, and a great story editor. And he started to go up and talk to John when he wasn't on the set. And so John would talk to him and tell him how to structure things, and then he would tell Mike to go write a scene. Well, we didn't have an office in those days for Michael, so Michael would go out in the secretary's office and left-handedly write on the arm of a chair and a pad and write a scene, and then he would go back in. John would critique it, tell him what he thought. And that's how Mike learned to write.
He not only directed and acted in it every week, and Michael was the one editing the show. So he knew everybody. You have to realize he worked Monday through Friday. He would then go in Saturday and edit the show.
We had 2 editors, and he would come in and start with one editor. The show was broken down into 5 reels, each show. And he would start and do reel 1 on a moviola. Never saw the show on a large screen. Work with the editor on a moviola. Do reel 1 with one editor. The guy would make the changes. He'd go next door and work with a second editor on a different script. And by 1 o'clock, he'd have 2 shows down to time.
The production value of each show was exceptional. Our locations were exceptional. The work done.
He was quick to learn. He learned how to be a writer on Bonanza. He learned how to be a director on Bonanza, and it stayed with him. But he was always trying new things.
Michael would use people's names, like when he did Where Pigeons Goes to Die. He wrote my name into it, and he had the biggest blast out of it.
You normally get a script writer that would be 55 pages long. When Michael wrote a script, he would give you a script of about 40 pages, because there was no description of dialogue, there was no description of character, there was no description of any kind. It was just straight dialogue, because he knew how he was going to shoot it. Well, it would be very difficult breaking his scripts down, because I wasn't always sure. I'd lay out a script, and I'd lay out a day's work, and he'd come in, he said, boy, that's a tough day's work. He said, I want a cherry picker, 70-foot cherry picker in here for this scene. I said, okay. We go back to the board, and I would change things around. But there's those things I didn't know unless I could talk to him. But it was always easy to work with.
If someone else wrote the script especially, he would rewrite maybe 1 or 2 lines where the audience would say, I felt that, or I'm feeling that way, or something that people can relate to. I think Passengers New York was a great cast. I loved that cast with Richard Mulligan and Barney Martin.
Barney, this man here is an angel.
Yeah? I've never had an angel in my cab before.
Don't be so sure.
I thought it had some terrific people, even down to the one-liners that we had.
What do you have, fellas?
Tell you what, why don't you bring some sandwiches and coffee to the guys outside? Tell them it was your idea.
Hey, if it was my idea, I don't need your money.
Oh, I love Wally with Dick Van Dyke. He plays a homeless guy. It's one of my favorites, absolutely.
I enjoyed the one with Dick Van Dyke, Wally, because he was a tremendous actor.
God, please, not this boy. You worked miracles before. Work one now.
Dick Van Dyke is a homeless man who does all these wonderful things for other people, and he is sick and dying himself, and it's a lovely story.
Made us cry, made us laugh, was enjoyable to be with. And as I recall, he mentioned to Michael it was the most wonderful experience he had ever had.
We did a scene in a liquor store downtown on 4th Street. And at the end of the scene, Dick Van Dyke is crying because the lady had passed away. We'd gotten shot in his store.
Now, lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to
And Mike's crying. Everybody on the set's crying. So Dick said, do you want me to do something different? And Mike says, if you did something different, I couldn't cry again, so we're not going to do it. He said, that was beautiful, beautiful.
My favorite episode of Highway to Heaven is the one I negotiated. I represented Lorne Greene, and I went to Michael and I asked him to do me a favor. Lorne wanted to be in Highway to Heaven. And I told Michael about it, and he wrote an episode with Lorne Greene in it.
God revealed himself to Moses in the Bible. Isn't that right, Father?
That's correct.
Well, I didn't read the book, but I saw the movie.
And that was a great fun thing, because Lorne, of course, being Pa on Bonanza, and here was Michael back again, the reunion was quite exceptional.
It's where Lorne Greene is at the Wilton Theater. Michael is filming. Michael, knew how good Lorne would be, and Lorne was very, very nervous, and he requested a teleprompter. And he wanted a teleprompter for for Lorne Greene, and Lorne said, I need one or I won't do it. Michael says, fine, I'll get the teleprompter. He orders it, and he says, Lorne will be so good he'll never use it. And it was the best episode Lorne had ever done before, and he was thrilled with it, and that made him feel better about his career.
And, Mike was calling him Pa through the whole time. So it was really a lot of fun. We had a good time. The show means honesty and love and the understanding of people.
People watch it today, which is, it is a little dated when you look at some of the shows. We shot it in 84 to 89, and it's dated pictorially, but not dated in the message.
I think the message today is the same message it was when he did it 20 years ago. I want people to care about other people, and I want people to be good, and I want nice images on television.
Even though we're all different, we should be treated the same. We should all be equal. We should all believe in each other and do what's best for each other in our daily lives.
I mean, when you look at all the shows that we did, he was the one that was guiding people to help from themselves and to help others. And I think helping others is what he really wanted to say, and I think we did it.
People can take away from it the family feeling, the love of it, the stories of people in everyday lives, what they go through, the illnesses, the comic touches that it had, the camaraderie between people, especially the two leads. I think they take away a good feeling from Highway to Heaven.
I watch the shows. I'll turn the TV on and come across, Little House or Highway, and to me, it's that connection back with Michael. It brings up a lot of memories, wonderful memories, and it's something that I can enjoy with my kids still today, and it just is. It's a great opportunity to be able to feel like he's still, part of us.
When Michael got sick, he said to me, please keep this on the air as long as you can. There's not a lot of programming like this around, and every year it's harder and harder for people to get this on the air. In another 10 years, there won't be a show like this on television. He understood that. He understood what people wanted. He could have done a lot of things that were not family-oriented. That's not what he was like.
The message from Highway to Heaven really is that, people, again, how people treat one another and how important it is to live life, caring about other people.
You still got to work with people. People have to understand each other. People have to coincide with one another. And it isn't that difficult if you think about it. And I think that's what Michael thought about a lot, and that's what he wanted to leave.
Michael was such a charitable person and always was there whenever he was called upon to do something for someone.
Be nice to people. People need help. Help people.
If you looked at the themes of Michael's shows, they're all about what a good person would do. And that's what Michael Landon was. He was just a good person.